Toyota's Prius has been the butt of so many bad car memes over the years that it's really become such an easy target for enthusiasts, especially if you catch one of these things blocking the left lane on your local roads. Now, most of you will probably not argue the universal success that Toyota has had with this car, with the company topping out sales at nearly 200,000 units back in 2007. Now, unfortunately for Toyota as well, the company just hasn't really gathered the same kind of success with this fourth generation version since it's come out back in 2016. Most of you will probably blame it on a face that only a mother could love. And this week, Toyota has loaned me the latest 2018 version. Is it any good if you guys are looking for a hybrid or fuel-efficient hybrid car? That's what we're here to find out. So back in 2007, when Toyota was moving nearly 200,000 Prii models here in America, they actually had 3 different versions of the Prius. And unfortunately, Toyota got rid of the V version, which is kind of like a wagon. So now you've got the Prius liftback, which is what I'm showing you here, and then the smaller Prius C, which I showed you guys a video of earlier this year. Now, taking a look at the front fascia, this is definitely a look that only a mother could love. I just don't understand what Toyota was thinking when they designed the front end of this car. Now keep in mind, there is a refreshed 2019 version, which I will be showing you guys a video on as well, where Toyota has kind of softened the front end and gotten rid of these like sharp little angles here and there. Overall, I'll talk about the looks of that later when I have that, but let's talk about this. Now, LED headlights are actually standard across the board on every Prius. Toyota offers this version in 7 different trims. This is the highest version, the 4 Touring. It's got an LED headlight here, which are low and high beam. You have incandescent turn signals here, and then you have fog lights over here with a slight more LED accents. This is only included on the Touring package if you guys go for that. You also have these well-integrated parking sensors. To me, the car just looks like it has whiskers, especially with this strange integration of this little grille here. It just kind of looks narrow and tall, which is funny because Toyota said this car is actually 0.6 inches wider versus the previous generation. Remember, this car is the first Toyota vehicle to be on the new TNGA platform. Not quite as extensive as the TNGA platform on the Camry, but this was technically the first vehicle. Now, looking at the wheel sizes, hybrids typically don't have good-looking wheels, and the Prius, these are decent. These are the 17-inch dark gunmetal finish wheels that you get on the Touring trims. All the other Prii models will have a 15-inch wheel. These are alloy wheels with kind of an aero cover. A lot of these hybrids are going for that. My Tester has that, appearance package that gives you the black finish and then the front and rear skirts around the entire vehicle. It's kind of like a body kit. It looks kind of silly on a Prius, if you're asking me. Now, looking at the actual size of the vehicle, Toyota made it about 2.5 inches longer for this 4th generation at 106 inches long in the wheelbase and around 178 inches long overall. This is about the same size as something like a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. So this is, again, a compact car by its dimensions. Now, a lot of interesting styling elements here. You've got this kind of floating roof design that Toyota introduced on this generation. Remember, it's a liftback still, so this is a hatchback model. And then you just have really interesting shapes here and creases to kind of aid with the aerodynamics. Toyota says that the coefficient of drag on this car is 0.24, which is actually the same as a Tesla Model S. It's a little bit slipperier versus the previous generation Prius by like 0.01. So again, this is all in the name of aerodynamics, but I think Toyota could have done a better job with making this look a little bit less weird. Now at the rear, you can see it's got that split tailgate design or window design. You've got a little window here that you can see out of, another window here with a wiper, because remember, this is a hatchback. And then the typical hybrid badges, you've got LED combination rear taillights where the turn signals and reverse lights are incandescent, but you have LEDs. You have this, again, rear diffuser skirts that you get with the appearance package, which I just think is not necessary on a Prius. It's a $1,500 option that I would probably skip. No visible exhaust tips, they're kind of all hidden back there. And then when you look at the cargo area, this is the one bright spot of the Prius. Because it's a liftback, you actually get a pretty good amount of space. You're looking at around just under 20 7 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats up. If you fold down those seats, Toyota says you get 65.5 cubic feet of space. That's literally matching a lot of the space you get in a compact SUV. So very practical vehicle. I will point out that if you guys go for the base Prius 1, it'll have nickel metal hydride batteries, so it has a little bit less space. The other trims have lithium ion batteries, so there's a little bit more space underneath the floor area. Now, speaking of underneath the floor area here, you can see no spare tire. Instead, you just get a fix-a-flat kit with an air compressor, which is kind of what I expected. So yes, you guys have heard me say it over and over again, the outside of the Prius isn't very attractive, but let's move on to the interior of the current version. You can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. Every Prius trim actually comes standard with the company's smart key access system with push button start. If you guys go for the base trim, however, the unlock area is only on the driver's door, whereas Toyota has moved it to the rest of the doors. If you guys go for the upper trims, I've shown you this key fob before on other Toyota products, so all you have to do is keep the key fob inside your pocket or your purse. As you approach the door handle, you'll notice there's two ridge areas on the door handle. Just touch that, the doors will lock for you. To unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Touch the back of the handle and then the doors will unlock for you. Now, looking at the inside of this particular one, you can see it's got the upgraded Softex synthetic leather interior with some of the white trim. You only get this material if you guys go for a 3 trim and up. All the other Prius models will have cloth. This Softex is included if you guys go for, again, the upper trims. You've got, it looks like an 8-way power driver's seat, which is nice. That again comes on the higher trims. No memory seats. Toyota doesn't offer memory seats, which is a little bit disappointing, but the interior definitely looks welcoming and inviting and very comfortable. I do like the blue stitching over here, and the dashboard again is very traditional Prius with the center display over there with the eyebrow lip basically, and then the huge screen that Toyota added for the 2018 model year. Now, stepping inside the cabin of this particular version, you can see it definitely feels like it sits lower-ish to the ground versus old Prius models, but let's shut the door. It sounds a little bit on the tinnier side, and this time the window is shut, and you can see the mirror kind of vibrates a tad and it's a little hollow sounding. But remember, this is the first application of the Toyota TNGA platform. Now you can see this gigantic screen is standard on the Prius 4 models. It's 11.6 inches. I've shown you this screen before on the Prius Prime. Toyota added it to the lower or the rest of the Prius lineup for 2018. To start the vehicle up, just put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to turn on all the electronics. Now, as you can see, like other hybrid models, there's no engine startup. Instead, it just says ready, and that little eyebrow lip, it has a little bit of a welcome chime that I believe you can turn off. You can see it's very Prius-like. There's a Prius that drives around the globe, and it shows you everything. It shows you, of course, your little continue display over here. This touch screen definitely looks impressive, but the graphics when they turn on aren't as impressive as some of the other competitors. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, in terms of the materials, you can see it is a soft touch grading material on this entire dashboard area on the lower end, except if you touch this part up here, which you probably never will, is a little bit of a hard touch plastic area. It is soft touch right here on this part of the door, which is nice, and it's soft touch right here. It's padded over here slightly where you can see there's a nice grab handle. The windows are Express One Touch for all 4, which is nice. You have your window controls over there, a couple of other controls over here. This car, as you can see, has the automated parallel parking system, which is definitely nice. The steering wheel has a leatherette material. It's got a lot of buttons here. It's got this white trim, which is definitely nice looking. You've got the Toyota Safety Sense P is standard equipment. So you've got the old cruise control stock here. You've got the lane keep assist, forward emergency braking, all that other stuff. This little display here is necessary because there's nothing in over here, which if you guys have had a Prius before, this is very much the norm with Prius models. You can see it's got a big digital speedo there with your fuel economy information, your odometer, your gas, your fuel tank capacity. You can see there's another Prius score over there where you can also adjust what you'd like this to show. Using this little button here on the steering wheel, you can see you can show your driver assistance. You can go into your vehicle settings over there, information displays. It'll show your fuel consumption, your drive monitor, all the information you kind of need to see. Toyota puts it up there, which I feel like it's a little bit too far away. I mean, it is easy to look at a glance. You kind of have to get used to looking over to the right side. But I just wish that Toyota made the display a little bit larger like they've done over here with this gigantic, massive display. You can see there's the GPS if you guys have it in the biggest display. It's nice that it looks like this, although it's still the old Toyota map graphics, which again, just are starting to look a little bit old. The Prius that's driving across the world is still kind of stays there at the top. If you'd like, you can click there and then it'll bring up your audio information. My tester has the XM satellite radio option. It's got AM, FM, it's got Bluetooth streaming, all that other stuff. What it is missing is Apple CarPlay. Toyota hasn't put Apple CarPlay on this larger screen, which is, I just don't understand why. It's such a huge screen. This is like the largest screen that Toyota has in their lineup, in Toyota lineups. So it would be nice to see them put Apple CarPlay. Anytime you guys push like the home button here, you can see it'll bring you back to the navigation over there, or you can also push the menu and it'll show you all your different app suites, your phone settings. You can change the display. You know, it's a pretty impressive looking screen, kind of very Tesla-like. I liked it in the Prius Prime. It looks okay in here. It just needs to be added with, you know, Entune 3.0 and Toyota's Apple CarPlay and Amazon Alexa. So I'm hoping Toyota has done that for 2019. I don't believe they've done that in even the 19 Prius, which is kind of disappointing. If you put the vehicle into reverse, you can see, why does the backup camera only take up the top part of the screen? It's a very small portion. Look at all this wasted real estate over here. I just think that it was a missed opportunity for Toyota to include like a 360 camera. It's got parking sensors front and rear, but again, that beep is constant with any other Prius models, just to let people know that you're backing up. Just kind of disappointing in that regard. Down here you can see this is your transmission selector. Neutral's over there, reverse is up here, and then drive, and then there's also a B mode. We'll go into the drive modes later on, and then test drive. You can see if you push the drive mode button here, you can cycle between power, eco, and then a normal mode. Which we'll go into all those later in the test drive. Push P to go to park. This wireless charging pad is included if you guys go for a 3 and up, which you can see fits your phone nicely. There's a lot of piano black plastic trim. You have a little bit of storage over here with your 2 cup holders. The heated seats, if you're looking for that, it's actually buried all the way down here, kind of like it was an afterthought. It's just a 2-level heated seat, no cooled seats. Toyota doesn't offer that. You can see over here, there's a nice little storage compartment with, you know, great amount of storage over there. The seats are pretty comfortable. They are made of a synthetic leather, which feels really soft. I like the seats. My tester is missing the optional sunroof, not included, I guess, on this particular trim, which is surprising. The glove compartment is a little bit small. It's not lined with felt, but it is damped. I mean, overall, the interior of this car is useful. And it's very familiar if you guys have had a Prius before. It's very comfortable, and it's also relatively easy to see out of, and it kind of matches the weird looks, although a lot of you will like the screen. Toyota basically just needs to add Apple CarPlay, and this would be a lot better. So as a family car, the Prius still very much excels in that department because the back seat is really roomy, actually. I love the fact that the floor is almost completely flat. Toyota says there's only 33 inches of legroom back here, which sounds a little bit tight. This feels definitely more like around 35 inches. I mean, it's very similar to what you get in something like, you know, a Tesla Model 3 or the Honda Insight, the current generation Insight. So this is very usable. No rear seat vents back here, which I'm a little disappointed. And then you just get an old school, you know, 120 volt power outlet. No USBs. You have 2 map pockets. Back here, the materials are all hard touch plastic. So it is a little bit cheaper end there, but you do still have one-touch automatic windows back here, which is a nice feature. Toyota also gives you an armrest here that folds down with 2 cup holders. Not really much in terms of storage other than these 2 right here, but overall, the back seat is definitely very useful for 2. You could probably squeeze 3 in a pinch. So under the hood of the latest generation Prius, you're going to find Toyota's latest version of their hybrid Synergy drive. Now, it is actually in its 4th generation as well, and what you're going to get is a combination of powertrains here. You've got 2 electric motors, you've got an internal combustion engine. Now, compared to the previous generation, it's relatively familiar in the gas engine department. It's now a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder, still only port injection, and the engine itself makes only 95 horsepower and 105 foot-pounds of torque. Now, when you pair that with the electric motors, which make about 71 horsepower and 120 pound-feet of torque, it does combine to only make 121 horsepower. Unfortunately, when you combine the 2 with the transmission, you do lose some ponies here and there. So 121 horsepower, Toyota does not quote the actual combined torque figure, but with electric motors, they are relatively torquey off the line. Now, it all goes out through an e-CVT transmission, driving the front wheels on this 2018 model. For 2019, Toyota did add all-wheel drive, basically adding a 3rd electric motor to the rear axle, which again, I will show you guys a full review on the all-wheel drive model on a later date. Now, fuel economy, of course, that's the biggest priority with the Prius, and this is actually rated at 54 in the city and 50 on the highway. 52 combined. If you guys go for the Prius 2 Eco model, which basically is a little bit lighter, it's got lower rolling resistance tires and whatnot, that will get 58 in the city and 54 on the highway and like 56 combined. Now that MPG makes the Prius one of the most, or the most fuel efficient non-plug-in version. As this one sits, it's actually a little bit less efficient than the Hyundai Ioniq, but matching the efficiency of the current Honda Insight. Now, this Prius model weighs around 3,100 pounds paired with that CVT. Let's get it out on the road and see how it all performs. So I'm not sure why, but this generation Prius has just simply eluded me from actually doing a full Redline review. And although there is a 19 model, as I said, that's coming out, this 2018 model will drive pretty much the same, aside from the fact that this one's not available with all-wheel drive. But this 4th generation Prius, when it came out, was the first, as I said before, to debut the TNGA platform. It's got the 4th generation hybrid Synergy drive, and it is right off the bat much more noticeably a more pleasant driving car. That fully independent rear suspension, the retuned steering, the much stiffer chassis, it all leads to a much more enjoyable Prius out on the road that kind of goes down the road with a solidity that the old one just didn't have. This one doesn't, it doesn't feel like a sports sedan by any stretch of the imagination, but it does drive relatively nicely. And the noises in here, it is a little bit louder than I expected it to be. You do hear some wind noise creeping in. You constantly hear that engine, that 1.8 liter engine with the CVT. The one thing I wish about this car is I wish Toyota made it so it would drive on electric power alone at higher speeds. On the highway, the gas engine's just constantly in the background. You can constantly hear it. Right now I have the car in its normal drive mode selection, and you can see there from the energy monitor, it tells you right now it's just running on the battery alone. There's no gas engine, but anytime I go near the throttle, just slight input of the throttle, the gas engine will kick on, the car will accelerate forward, and it feels relatively fine in terms of, just that kind of passing power, that kind of just acceleration. But let's put the drive mode here into its power mode. You can hear the engine kind of will come on much more consistently. I have it also in the B transmission selector. This is an eCVT, and you can feel it's raising the revs of the engine to kind of give you engine braking. But the engine braking is not as good as a lot of other hybrid or EV vehicles. The new Insight, for example, comes to mind. So let's just put it into regular drive. Let's put our foot down here. And again, it's just a constant, incessant wail from the engine. But surprisingly, the passing power is decent. Toyota says the 0 to 60 time of this vehicle is around 9.8 seconds, which is paltry slow. I mean, the Insight hybrid will technically do the same time in about 2 seconds quicker, 0 to 60. So Toyota really needs to work on the performance. Now, I get it, hybrid vehicles aren't about performance. They're mostly about just daily driving, commuting, but even hybrid owners want some good passing power, and this is kind of where the Prius feels a little bit sluggish, and you constantly have to listen to the engine complaining and moaning about the power. Now, in terms of the driver assistance, this car has the Toyota Safety Sense P as standard equipment, so it's got full speed range, adaptive cruise control, it's got the lane keep assist, but it doesn't have the lane trace assist. This is not the newer system that I've showed you before, and you can see my foot is to the floor here. Come on. Oh my God, this thing is so slow with getting up to speed. And I don't know, maybe I've just been jaded with cars, with a lot of the higher performance cars I've been driving, but I have to say, even for a commuter car, I expected a little bit more power than this. I expected it to be better. On the highway, the Prius really feels lacking. But when you get up to highway speeds, aside from the very loud wind noise in here, the ride quality is agreeable. It's not bad. And the steering in general is very light and numb, but the quickness is there. So the car feels like it could handle, more power. It's got a relatively decent feeling to the chassis. If you guys have driven the newer Corolla, for example, this kind of comes to mind, that it is a decent handling vehicle. And the visibility in here is good. You got these big side mirrors, good view out of the front. The view out of the back you have to get used to from that chop view, but let's take this off-ramp here. Surprisingly, it turns in relatively well. These Eco skinny tires don't really have much grip. But yeah, again, the gas engine's just kind of kicking on. I'm gonna put it into Eco mode here, and the gas engine will still come on, but wow, it feels like I'm pulling like an anchor behind me. The car feels even more sluggish, and I have to put my foot down even harder to get it to accelerate. So I just don't even bother put it in Eco mode. But let's go off this off-ramp here, or this on-ramp. Surprisingly neutral. I'm impressed. This thing can handle relatively well. It really could use fatter tires and more power, but This TNGA platform is absolutely brilliant. Oh my God. So slow. Come on. And there's 60. Whew, this thing is sluggish. Even in power mode, it's not going anywhere. But anyways, acceleration speed, it's not the point of a Prius. What about fuel economy? Well, without even trying, in my week's worth of testing, I've been averaging 46 mpg. And that's driving like this. So this is a very good gas mileage. I mean, remember, this car was rated to get like 54 in the city and 50 on the highway. It does better in the city because it runs on electricity more in the city. The gas mileage is good. The handling is fine. The seat comfort is good. It's a pleasant car to daily drive, as long as you guys don't, favor quick acceleration. Like if you've ever driven one of the new full EVs, this is just gonna kind of feel like yesterday's hybrid. It's kind of the same thing that I have with the Insight and Accord hybrid. While those are much markedly improved over the Prius hybrid, full EVs have just made these hybrid vehicles really feel like yesterday's news. And I really think that until I drive a hybrid vehicle that has the kind of instantaneous quick acceleration, and if you're gonna throw in the engine noise, it can't be this horrible, whiny, droney CVT, buzzy four-cylinder. It needs to actually have some good noises to it, along with the quick acceleration. That's just kind of what the industry is going to. We're gonna see a lot of these full EVs that are just 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds fast. And that's kind of what we are expecting nowadays. Now, the fuel efficiency of this car is great, don't get me wrong. And if you can get past the looks of this Prius, which I honestly cannot, I just cannot stand the looks of this current generation model. This is definitely still a worthy commuter car, but is it better than something like the Honda Insight? That's where I kind of put my foot down. The Insight, if you're looking for a conventional hybrid, to me is the one that I would personally choose. Although now that the 2019 Prius is going to offer all-wheel drive, those of you who live in the snowbelt states, that may tip the scales in Toyota's favor for you. So although the design of the current generation Prius may be questionable, there's no denying just how practical the Prius still is if you guys are looking for an efficient family car to just take you to and from work. When Toyota moved this car to the TNGA platform, they really made the Prius a much better driving vehicle because it's got that independent rear suspension. It's got a little bit of a sportier, tighter feel. It still gets excellent fuel economy. I've been averaging 46 mpg in my week's worth of testing without even trying. And it's got that practical back seat, big trunk. So this is still a really good car to own. It's just, I think Toyota really missed the mark with the design of the car. I think people nowadays really just care a lot about how a hybrid vehicle, even their hybrid vehicle, looks. And I really would like to see Toyota address a lot of the issues, which is unfortunately won't come for a next generation model. I'll keep an open mind when I do test out the 2019 model because they did refresh it. But really, I think that we've seen sales tank over the years, where Toyota only actually moved about 67,000 of these in 2017, which is about half what they typically did before on the previous generation, the third generation model. But with all that said, if you guys are looking to purchase a brand new Prius, what's it going to cost? Well, this car is still relatively inexpensive. It starts at $23,400 for a base Prius 1. I would skip that entirely because it doesn't have cruise control and it has the old nickel metal hydride batteries. You really need to go up to a Prius 2 Eco at least, which gives you cruise control. It gives you the lithium ion battery, so you get the better fuel efficiency. That car starts at a little over $25,000, which is still a really good deal. Now, if you guys are looking to get a Prius with all the bells and whistles, if you guys go for a Prius 4 model, they do start at around $29,500. The touring version, which has the bigger wheels and tires, starts at a tick over $30,000. My tester has the optional JBL and the upgraded head unit with the Entune embedded navigation, and this one stickers for a tick over $33,000. Which I know, when did Priuses start getting so expensive? But this is the most expensive version, and it does come with a lot of the tech features aside from Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which for some reason it's just not included on that big screen. But overall, the Prius is still a great dynamic car to drive, really practical, really good to live with on an everyday basis. And if you're okay with the looks, you should probably still put one at the top of your list. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Toyota Prius 4 Touring. If you guys are looking to see all the rest of the cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.